are going live today on our fantastic show, and I'm so excited you're here. We've got all the different live channels going on right now. Welcome to the Live Soul family. I'm Sneeka, your host, and I'm so excited to be here. If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you are seeing the real life behind me of what it looks like to have a play space at home all day long. It's incredible, but it gets messy, especially when you just are having such a good time. So welcome. So excited you are here with us. Johnny, my little 18-month-old, is currently napping, so he's able to get away for this. And I'm your host. We're going to be talking about what it looks like right now to walk through the next 2 weeks of intentionally choosing each other now that Indiana has officially been ordered for residents to stay home unless you're still an essential business going to work. So right now, what I want to really be able to do for you guys is teach you a bit about how to support one another in this time. Because I will say life in the next 2 weeks is most likely going to look a lot different with the COVID-19 in full swing. So your temper, irritability, and exhaustion and stress will likely play a part in how you interact with your spouse. So if you guys have not yet heard, it was Governor Eric Holcomb who delivered a statewide address yesterday to order that Hoosiers remain in their homes except for when they're at work or for permitted activities such as taking care of others, obtaining necessary supplies, and for health and safety. So the order is in effect from March 25th to April 7th. And I want to arm you with 5 tips to use during the next 2 weeks to support your husband and yourself and draw closer to one another during a tense time where you're in close quarters and you're not seeing other people very often. So just so you guys know, we've been self-quarantining and just doing isolation for, 12 days now, so almost 2 weeks already. And we've set some structures in place and worked through how work days will work and weekends work. And we've been trying to structure weekends as well, but I will say irritability has started to show its true colors in conversation. So short phrases that would have seemed like no big deal now are starting to seem like a bigger deal. I've been bothered by my husband saying, I don't want to do that right now, and have been frustrated by his logical, non-emotional conversation structure that I usually super appreciate. And of course, all those incredible qualities that you have been thinking about your husband and why you married him. One of the huge reasons why I was so pumped to be with my forever beloved is because the way that we converse, the way we communicate is like just so easy to follow. It's really logical. And during this time when things are super emotional, it has not been as fun to work with him on that. So these things that I used to and always love about him and are really dear to my heart, during tense moments, it can seem like the things that your husband does that you usually love are not great anymore. So I can feel angry emotions rising up in a way that they almost never do, just because not only have I been walking through unknown territory like you guys of what it's like to live physically isolated from others during a pandemic, I'm also walking through friends losing jobs. I'm sure you guys have stories about this. I have friends having babies in hospitals right now, and there's clients needing to cancel and reschedule, and there's a constant need to be peaceful and joyful with a little one excitedly running around the house too. So it's just real over here. It's been really interesting to understand how something I could love about my spouse might not be such a great quality in this moment right now, and how to walk through that and process through that. So here's what I've learned so far while my husband and I have been in almost 2 weeks of self-quarantining that I want to share with you guys so you can draw closer together and not let this potential 2 weeks of stress and anxiety overburden your relationship, and not let the devil get in there. Don't give him a foothold. And I want to arm you so that you can battle against that and battle against just the enemy desiring you guys to be far apart from each other. It's just real. So tip number 1 is to over communicate what weekly needs done, what daily needs done in the house. And because you're truly managing the house and managing the workspace and place play space that you're living in, how you can help one another, how you can proactively make your home into a work and play space for the entire 2 weeks if you are working at home, and to tell one another when downtown. And that has helped a lot. So I needed help this past weekend. A weekly thing that we do is vacuum. And so Alan vacuumed this past weekend instead of me. And he was with Johnny when I needed also to be on a phone with a bride whose wedding is today and is being captured by an associate photographer. So Alan has been praying with me, and he's also just let me nap next to him if I need to, because I've been communicating with him about what's happening, how I'm feeling, how I'm not doing okay, and what I need help with in the real practical home management part of life. So tip number 1 is to over-communicate with one another. Tip number 2 is to sleep. So last night, I got 10 hours of sleep. It was like my body was just waiting for this for 2 straight weeks. It's been hard to sleep, especially after developing an addiction to checking the news and Facebook, even though every time I have, the news and updates have even just been worse, and it drives fear and panic in me. I feel like you can't think straight when you're hit in the face with a huge blow. And stripping away a part of a livelihood and a whole part of a lifestyle can really make the night not be helpful. It just sometimes feels really dark. So I have been praying, and we'll talk about that. I've been listening to peaceful music. Highly recommend listening to Keys of Peace by Francesca Rohr. But I've also been looking too much just at the news, and I'm just now starting to tired of the routine that I've noticed, which is pick up the phone, scroll, and feel fearful. So last night, my body and mind finally let me rest. And it was after that realization of like, oh wait, this is inducing panic and fear in me. We're going to start having a phone bowl. We're going to start shutting down the phone. We're going to start doing something else with that time. I'm sure you guys have been looking and gotten way too far in that regard too. It's kind of hard not to look. It's kind of like, you want to look, but you don't want to look. So just an idea too. So tip number 1 is to over-communicate with your spouse in the next 2 weeks about how you guys are doing, how you're feeling. Tip number 2 is to sleep. Let your body sleep. You absolutely need sleep in times of stress and tension, because you think completely logically then. You're able to really use all your senses and all of your words when you are sleeping well. A third thing I highly recommend, another tip, is to switch from coffee to tea. This is what I did just in the last 2 days after noticing just some reactions I've been having. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to learn how to jazz up tea so it actually tasted good. Let's be honest, coffee doesn't even really taste good to me. It just gives me a kick when I've been up all night with my 18-month-old. But the last 2 days, I've decided that my brain and body have been on high alert, waiting for emails from brides and vendors and news articles, and coffee was not helping me anymore. I didn't need it. It was hurting me. It made me twitchy and anxious, and at worst, it made me feel annoyed and angry by not feeling like I had control over my own job or over the future of what I was going to do tomorrow. So I decided to switch to tea, which is less caffeinated, but still helps give me a boost when I'm up all night with my little guy. And I have now taken up English breakfast tea with lemon and honey. And I'm not talking about like going to the store and cutting up lemon. I'm just talking like a little lemon juice and a little honey, and it tastes really good. And it's a lot less caffeinated, so I'm not as impacted by it, but it gives me what I need. So tip number 1, over-communicate with your spouse in the next 2 weeks. Tip number 2, make sure you sleep. Please sleep. It is going to help you think straight. Tip number 3, potentially consider switching from coffee or caffeinated coffee to decaf or to tea so that you are not on high alert at all times. Here's tip number 4, have wind down time, wind up time, or just an hour by yourself. If you don't get time by yourself in the next 2 weeks, you're going to feel like you're trapped in a room. If you are self-quarantine and you're not going to work in your home, that you're trapped in a room with 1 or 2 or 3 other people who have different preferences and experiences throughout the day than you do. It's been amazing to be quarantined with a supportive husband and a patient baby boy, but also having time completely to myself to process my own feelings and reflect on how I'm coping and working through these new stressors is necessary. So for me, during that time, that alone time is what I call it. I've been praying for 20 minutes each day and sitting by myself on the couch at the end of the day. It's been so helpful to just be totally alone, not hearing anything, not needing to be anywhere or do anything or make a conversation happen. Just to be with the Lord has been important, and it's been a critical part of the day so that I can just fully be by myself with my thoughts and process how I'm feeling about all of this. To take that alone time has been so beneficial. Now, I don't really have wind-up time by myself. It's usually with my baby boy, but there's a routine of breakfast and cleaning up and working out or getting into fun activities. And wind-down time usually just includes a shower, and I have definitely spent more time relaxing than just hopping in and out, because that's another beautiful moment of completely alone time. As a married mama, those moments of complete silence are crucial, because it's necessary for me to work through these stressors to be fully present as a wife and a mama right now. And so I've been communicating with my husband on all right, hon, can you be with Johnny for 20 minutes? I need to go take a bath. I need to just take a walk outside. I'm just going to go make myself a cup of tea and sit down in this other room over here. I just need to watch a TV show by myself for 20 minutes without being interrupted. All of these are things that I have said because tip number one, I've been over communicating with my husband on how I'm feeling. I've been asking him how he's feeling too. Tip number two, I've been sleeping now, and that has seriously helped me navigate the emotions I'm feeling and the stressors that I've been working through, because I can actually have a logical mind then. Tip number three, yes, we are having time to ourselves. It is important, and it is such a big deal. And tip number four, I have switched to tea instead of coffee. I'm not having as much caffeine. All right, last tip here is to eat dessert together. Eat dessert with your spouse. Now, I eat dairy, gluten, and sugar-free by preference. Dairy and sugar give me acne, and gluten makes me really bloated and lethargic. But the stress of the past 2 weeks has been intense in a new way that has made me need just some sort of outlet. And we don't have alcohol in the house, just because we haven't gone to the store in 2 weeks. And I don't want more coffee. I've been praying every day, and I'm working through coping skills for this new type of stress and tension. But this past week, it's been comfort foods and going outside when it's good, when it's nice out. So comfort foods, because it has not been so nice out. We made homemade donuts, and we ordered pizza, the cheesy, good crust kind that has all the dairy and gluten, that it helps just relieve a kind of stress I've never had before in a way. I'm not saying bring back bad habits, but I am saying I'm just trying to bring love and joy to the people that I'm with every day, and I'm learning how to have grace with myself as I learn how to cope and learn how to thrive in this new season. I'm not there yet. I'm on my way, but I'm not there yet. So comfort foods are helping in this moment, in this week, in the meantime. What I want you guys to remember from this, more than anything, is to revive your relationship during this time by isolating with intention. Be aware of how you're doing, how he's doing, and how you can help one another. So I've got 3 quick questions for you just to think about and talk with your spouse about. Which of the 5 tips are you and your husband utilizing right now during this time? Over communicating, sleeping, drinking non-caffeinated stuff, having alone time, or eating dessert together, just hanging out. And then which tip can you implement today? The final one is, what do you need to communicate with your husband about, and what does he need to communicate with you about? It's time to talk. It's very important that you talk during this time. And talk in a way that you can open up and say, it's okay to feel all the feelings you're feeling, and for me to feel all these feelings too. And we're going to walk through them one by one. This is a whole new territory, and we are going to give each other grace, like the Lord gives us grace, as we learn how to communicate in times of stress too. I totally recommend communicating with words of love, and to remember that sometimes feelings can come up just during conversation that someone feels in that moment, and that's valid, but also it might not be exactly like how they live their full life. So for example, maybe Maybe your husband says, I just don't know why you do this thing. It really annoys me, or whatever. And in that moment, you can be like, but what about the 15 things that you're doing that really annoy me? But instead of in that moment pushing back in that communication, just receive his feeling and say, how can I do this better? And also, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Let's work on this together. Call those roommate requests and talk about what a roommate request is that you have as well. Like, truly being able to speak truth in love during this time as you over communicate is going to be one of the key essentials to communicating with your husband in a grace-filled way that reflects the Lord's love and helps you both cope and thrive during this new season. I want you guys to talk about your home structure and how self-quarantine has been going, and walk through those 5 tips, as well as how you're both feeling, to process what adjustments can help you both thrive in this season together. And more than anything, I pray you guys lean into each other. Give one another huge amounts of grace as you walk through this time of uncertainty. And you've got this. Friends, we've got this, and even more, God's got this. And that's why we can walk into today and tomorrow peace-filled, patient, and joyful. Even if we're feeling confused and frustrated and anxious. Peace-filled and joyful are those characteristics of the Lord that can permeate our hearts and coexist with the other feelings we have. Get out there today, or stay in, really, and hug the person that you chose to be forever with, through the good times and the hard times. I'm praying you have a peaceful day, friends. Have a good one.